I'm gonna start recording now.
I need to do my ASMR.
Well, hold on. Can I sync up the?
Hello and welcome to my...
Okay, are you gonna do your ASMR? Okay, cool. You have to speak right into it.
Hello and welcome to my ASMR.
Can you get out on my YouTuber chair, please?
Sorry.
Hello. That my flatmate's in this video for some reason. Do you mind if I post this on YouTube?
Post the parts where I look cute.
I'll post the parts where you're funny. Okay. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Nobody Asked, Akash. Today, we'll be talking about procrastination. I struggle with doing tasks handed to me, or tasks that I allocate to myself. I struggle with deadlines and like keeping my goals in check, and just with the very sense of like just keeping track of my productivity. But and yet I have enough time to level my Pokemon up and evolve and complete the Pokedex and fucking go out with my friends and just chill out and just talk shit. And why is that? Why do I feel the need to allocate my time to things that aren't necessarily on the top of my priority list? Procrastination. I can see you in the back of my video, like a little gremlin. This whole video is gonna be that, which is going to be very hypocritical because I procrastinated making this video. This has taken me months to do. I've literally gone to a whole nother country. I went back to Nepal and came back, and I still didn't make this fucking video. But here we are. What is procrastination? So, the plain word definition is the act of delaying or postponing a task or set of tasks. It is the act of ignoring or neglecting a primary task that needs completion in favor of another task or activity that typically has less importance. Most of the time, we equate procrastination to our educational responsibilities, because education is the sort of one area of our life where we're constantly handed deadlines and goals and tasks by external influences, i.e. our teachers, for external rewards, i.e. getting better grades to get into a better university. But procrastination can be used in all walks of life. Say that you've been putting off going food shopping. That is a necessity. You need to go food shopping. You need to walk down to Aldi or Asda, or if you're a posh Tory twat, to Marks and Spencer's or Waitrose, and you gotta get yourself that fucking unsweetened oat milk. Why is it that I put it off? I had to force myself. I had to force myself to pop into Asda and get food shopping, even though it was high on my priority list, and it's, like I said, I need to eat to survive. That is procrastination, ladies and gentlemen, at least in sort of a real world setting. Procrastination has also been linked to a variety of other major problems, such as national and consumer debt, unemployment, job searching, workplace cyber slacking, which is kind of
Me right now.
and presenteeism, which I believe is a fancy term for people overworking themselves. It seems like procrastination is the scapegoat of pretty much everything and anything to do with work or responsibility. Humans have dealt with procrastination for pretty much as long as we can remember. There's no recorded research of the first instance of procrastination, but most researchers just agree that the first instance of procrastination probably just occurred when the first instant of an assigned task was handed out. It's a behavior that kind of what's it called? Intertwines with each other. As long as assigned tasks were a thing, procrastination has been a thing. But we have had recorded instances of people speaking about this. Ancient Greek philosophers like Socrates and Aristotle developed a word to describe this type of behavior called akrasia. The state of acting against your better judgment. It applies to when you do one thing even though you know you should be doing something else. In a series of speeches known as the Philippics, Roman statesman Cicero
Do you get almond croissants or chocolate croissants?
Yeah, almond ones. Chocolate is overrated. Cicero, in the 1st century BC, called procrastination detestable in the conduct of most affairs. Little known fact, while Leonardo da Vinci's drawings and doodles in his notebook led to sort of the early creation of many modern day inventions, such as the helicopter or the tank, they were all products of his procrastination. And him doodling in his notebook, or taking time apart to doodle in his notebook, caused him to work on the Mona Lisa for 16 years. 16 goddamn years. Obviously, this isn't just a thing kind of isolated to one particular part of the world. Old Chinese folk sayings such as Jinri Shi, Jinri Bi suggest that complaining against procrastination is not only an age-old activity, but an internationally enjoyed one. So, as we can see, procrastination has long been intertwined with human history. But how much of a problem is it? How many people actually procrastinate? Because we have numbers-ish. Procrastination is mainly studied in academic settings because, like I've said before, the education system is a constant stream of externally assigned tasks, stereotypically ones that we may not enjoy. In the 1970s, it was estimated that over 70% of college students engage in procrastination. This figure has only grown, with studies now claiming approximately 80 to 95% of college students engage in procrastination to some degree, with approximately 70% considering themselves to be procrastinators, and approximately 50% say that they procrastinate in a consistent and problematic manner. So pretty much half of the general student population engages in, we won't use the word problematic, but maladaptive, I believe, is the correct psychological term, where behavior that is in some ways relieving or beneficial actually turns out to hurt you more. Maladaptive. And they're aware of this. That's the kicker here. These students are aware that they procrastinate and that it is problematic, and yet they still engage in it. When looking at the general population, studies suggest that procrastination chronically affects about 15 to 20% of adults, with approximately 25% of adults considering procrastination to be a defining personality trait. So even when we move outside of the student population, when we move to the general adult population, 1/4 of all adults see procrastination as something that defines themselves, as something that happens in their everyday life. And yet, we're all aware of this. We're all aware that procrastination is basically shooting ourselves in the foot. In the best case scenario, it's putting more pressure and more stress on us to complete a deadline. Worst case scenario, it makes us miss a deadline or completely fail to do a task. And yet we still do it. Why? We're aware of it, and we still do it. Now, research into procrastination over the years has identified a multitude of factors contributing to the bad habit. The influence over such factors differ between different types of procrastination. Though specifically, it seems task aversiveness, so how pleasant the task is to you, fear of failure, future incentives, and time delay of future incentives have been confirmed as prominent task characteristics that affect procrastination. On the other hand, self-control and impulsivity have been identified as two most predictive traits of procrastination. When I say this, it all makes sense. It all sounds like common sense. It's one of those things that you read in reports and you go, well, duh, I fucking knew that, and I don't have a psychology degree. Let's paint a scenario. Let's say that you have to complete something by next week, Wednesday, right? If you know you're going to get the rewards that day when you complete it, you're less likely to procrastinate, especially if you have more self-control and you're less impulsive. But let's say that even if you complete it by the deadline Wednesday, you know that you won't get rewarded till 2 weeks after that deadline. You're more likely to procrastinate because not only is the deadline a week away, but your reward is 3 weeks away, so that makes you more inclined to procrastinate. And this factor kind of doubles if you yourself are impulsive in nature and you have a lack of self-control. So you see how sort of all these factors come together, especially if the task you're doing is not as extremely pleasant to you, or if you don't have that fear of failure. Or sometimes fear of failure can actually motivate you to procrastinate because you get stressed from the fear of failure and you want to take your mind off it and you go do other things. But how do we explain these factors? How do we wrap them all neatly into one package and present it in a way that's digestible? There are two important theories that come to explaining procrastination behavior. The first one is an emotion regulation perspective, which shows that procrastination, like I said before, is a form of self-regulation failure that reflects giving priority to short-term mood repair over achieving long-term goals. This is the maladaptive nature I talked about earlier of procrastination. It's the idea that the task you've been set stresses you out, or the task you've been set doesn't exactly give you the joy or happiness that you want, and thus you prioritize, or at least your body prioritizes, feeling good in the short term rather than achieving this long-term goal. Within behavioral impulsivity related measures, procrastinators have shown deficits in inhibition and error processing. At the same time, emotion regulation and stress coping has shown to also be highly correlated with procrastination. With this evidence and the way it's presented, it seems that people who procrastinate more often are those who fail to regulate their own emotions and regulate their own behaviors, so have less self-control. And people who procrastinate seem to have worse error processing. But once they're given this training, once they're given emotion regulation techniques and stress coping mechanisms that aren't procrastination, they procrastinate less. So procrastination is, in the eyes of this theory, a coping mechanism, a maladaptive coping mechanism. The reason we procrastinate is obviously just to make ourselves feel better. And if you're aware of that, and if you're able to control your emotions, negotiate with yourself that this stress is also short term, and if you complete this task, it'll be more rewarding in the long term, you'll be able to stop procrastinating. However, the second theory explains why people's motivation to act increases when the deadline approaches. We've all felt that. Yeah. Don't worry, I'll edit you out. Roxana did a whole bit.
Hey, what's up, boys? It's me, your boy.
The more stressed you get from the deadline, the more likely you are to act on a task. And this is what temporal motivation theory explains. This theory defines motivation as proportional to people's self-efficacy, the expectation that efforts will be rewarded, and their feeling of value, meaningfulness, or enjoyableness of certain work. Motivation is reduced when there is a large amount of time before the reward is realized and when we are sensitive to delays, i.e. if we are more impulsive. Temporal motivational theory is more focused on the time aspect, on the deadline aspect of tasks, where you are more motivated the closer you are to the final day the task needs to be completed, because that is when you're given the reward, or that is the closest you will be to being rewarded. So it depends on your value of the task itself, how much it means to you, but it also depends on when you will be rewarded for such task. So you see both theories sort of cover the same area of why don't we do tasks, and they cover the same factors such as deadline of the task, when we're getting the reward, the value of it to us, our own self-regulation, and our own stress coping mechanisms. But both theories tend to focus on different things, with emotion regulation being focused on how procrastination can almost be beneficial to our mood, and that's why we keep doing it, while as temporal motivation theory is sort of more focused on resource distributing. We feel like there's no point giving our mental effort to a task because the reward is so far away, so we will put it on other things that will be more rewarding right now. Obviously, with everything in psychology, it's a bit of both. There's no one right theory. It's more of what theory you believe has more evidence, or what you believe explains the problem better. Though, I think both theories touch upon the fact that some people may say procrastination could be beneficial to you, and purposefully ignoring the primary or more important task might actually help you be more productive towards it. Some argued benefits includes giving individuals more time to think, conservation of resources, both physical and mental, helping you to work more efficiently, ironically, because procrastination gives you less time to finish a task, so you would be doing more in sort of less time. That makes you more efficient, I guess. And increasing your motivation through an adrenaline factor. Let's say you have an essay coming up. You don't want to do it. It's boring. It's on a topic you don't care about, and you don't want to scroll through endless articles hidden behind paywalls or articles that are free but are just fucking scientific gobbledygook. So, you leave it until the last minute, suddenly, adrenaline rush. Suddenly you can write a whole essay in 2 fucking hours. Why? Because you feel that rush. The deadline is right there. I'm so close to it. I need to get this done. So, some people may argue that procrastination is beneficial to you. However, many of the benefits are often mixed and aren't guaranteed, with criticism against the research supporting this, as many of the studies have had methodological flaws or their findings contradicted by other research. So it seems that in the field of research, the so-called benefits of procrastination are inconsistent at best and methodologically flawed, or just don't make sense at worst. How do you beat procrastination per se? If it's something that everyone is aware is bad for you, but then some people say it's good for you and some people still can't seem to get out of the habit, how do you beat it? Well, according to research, cognitive behavior therapy seems to be effective as a long-term strategy in preventing procrastination behavior among students. As we've mentioned before, emotion regulation training has been shown to reduce procrastination, and according to temporal motivation theory, giving yourself small rewards and controlling your impulsivity throughout completing the task should also reduce the need to procrastinate. So, controlling your emotions, rewarding yourself for completing small steps of the task, and cognitive behavioral sort of therapy, which involves breaking down where your behaviors come from, where your emotions come from, where your feelings come from, and trying to break out of that cycle consciously. It seems like being aware of what you need mentally could help you break out of procrastination. And it takes effort. It takes genuine effort. It's not as simple as writing your feelings on a page and pointing at them and going, I don't want to do this anymore. It's a conscious effort every time you get assigned or you assign yourself a task. But sometimes people will realize that what their body needs is time away from the task. What their body needs is a moment to step back from the source of the stress in order to get a clear head. And some people will beat themselves up over this because it's procrastination. They'll become more stressed because they feel that they're not contributing towards the completion of this task. And then that will make them procrastinate more, and it will make them more stressed, and it will send them into a spiral. Because I've done it before. We've all tried to beat procrastination. We've all tried to hunker down and force ourselves to work on something. And yet, even when we reward ourselves, even when we kind of try and control our emotions, even when we are conscious of what we need, it seems like sometimes what you need is to procrastinate. However, this is why many researchers are trying to differentiate between procrastination and purposeful delay. Those two sound like the exact same word, just wearing a different hat. However, purposeful delay defines the rational and strategic postponement of tasks. Researchers agree that you can't just beat procrastination. It's been in human life for as long as we can remember. There are many people out there who have a hard time focusing on a single task, especially if it's imposed on them by external influences, let alone putting their effort and time into it. Simply telling them to stop procrastinating or making them aware of its downfalls will not stop some people, because it's what they need. Their brain feels overstimulated, and it feels overburdened, and it genuinely sometimes can feel heavy. So heavy that you need to take that step away. You need to take that breath of fresh air. There will be times where staring at a blank screen or an unfinished project will result in nothing, even if you force yourself to sit down and focus. Rationally, if you have the time to delay your productivity and you believe it will clear your head of stress so you can sit down and have a better time carrying out a responsibility, then that is purposeful delay. There is no use beating yourself up, calling yourself a procrastinator, and thinking that your worth is tied to how productive you can be in a certain amount of time. What you need to do to finish something is to make sure you're working on it, yes. You're rewarding yourself for working on it, yes. You're getting a reward for the task or the task itself is meaningful, yes. But you also need to make sure that that doesn't just consume your whole life. That whatever you're working on, it can even be your passion. But things can become stressful even if you love working on it. And you don't need to beat yourself up every time you take a step away and give yourself a breather. Going for a walk, or taking 5 minutes for fresh air, or maybe reading something else other than a research article or like watching a training video. That is purposeful delay. Looking at the time you're giving yourself and going, will this benefit me? Can I catch up on this lost time? Do I need it? All in all, procrastination is either an escape from negative emotions or a delay in motivation due to a delay in rewards. Though that is probably the summary of this video. This video is going to turn out to be like 20 minutes long. That's this video in a minute. Procrastination is just an escape from negative emotions or a delay in motivation. And everyone knew that. But don't beat yourself up over it. There's always a chance to spin it positively. To rationalize and negotiate yourself into what benefits you truly, and differentiating that from what you're doing just because you can. I mean, even this video, even though I love doing stuff like this, even though making content and doing research is what I fucking love, it took me weeks, maybe months, I can't tell. They all blend together now, they all blur together, but this took me months to do. But I got it done. And honestly, towards the end of this recording, I feel fucking better about myself. Now that this project is done, I can't wait to start the next one. And procrastinate that as well. So yeah. What was the purpose of this video? Motivational, research, purpose? Who knows? Who knows anymore? But thank you for tuning in to another episode of No One Asked. I have a Ko-fi now. If people want to pay me to keep doing this, you shouldn't. It's free. But yeah, donate if you want. Vibe Tribe, yes, go check out the Vibe Tribe. I'll leave their links in the description. We've got Chappers, we've got Croc. They're all just some Twitch streamers, fucking nerds, streaming video games and all the like. If you like watching people play video games and being stupid, go check them out. I think that's the promo done. Yeah. Bye.